Good afternoon, all. It is the afternoon of the 17th of July, 2024. Got back from work a short while ago. We're going to have some rain later on, but I got notification that I should be receiving my new bellows today, Wednesday, instead of tomorrow, Thursday, which is awesome. So I'm going to prepare for it. The mail hasn't been delivered yet today, but it should be here soon. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the old bellows, and I'm going to show you too how I do the leak down test on the bellows itself, so I can compare the old with the new. The old one has a slow leak to it. It allows vacuum to leak out slowly. I'm hoping the new one will not have that symptom, and therefore might contribute to the speed control working properly. I'm doubtful in my own mind that replacing the bellows is going to fix the lack of an accelerate function. However, George has been very methodical with me, and he tells me that any vacuum leak is important and has to be sealed up. So I'm going through this one step at a time, testing until we get to the bottom of this. You may recall from yesterday's video that just sealing the case up better resulted in a less of a drop when I set the unit. Now it's only dropping 2 miles per hour instead of 4 miles per hour. So there is also an adjustment that he told me about. He said this would be like the last step if nothing else works. He says there is an adjustment screw underneath the unit, an Allen wrench hole or screw that you can turn out to allow more vacuum to enter the unit that might help. So I'll save that as kind of a last resort. I still haven't really formally tested the push button either. Personally, I think it's working. However, I haven't formally tested both positions of it. So I may eventually get to that as well, especially if I can't get the unit to work like it's supposed to with the accelerate button, with pushing it in and no acceleration. So I'm just going to show you the test on the old bellows, then remove it and wait for the new one to show up. No sooner did I mention the mail that the part showed up. So here it is. Here's my brand new cruise control bellows from Mark II Enterprises. So that's where it goes, right there. And I do have to remove the entire unit here really to get to it properly. So I'll be unbolting that from the firewall and pulling it all out. But I did want to demonstrate again the leak down test that I did before, so you can see what I'm talking about, that I want to see working. The only thing that I'm really questioning, and I'll show it more detail later, is does this need any kind of sealant, on the edges here, like RTV sealant or something? There's no instructions. I've never really, I don't think I've ever replaced one of these before. I don't believe there's any sealant in there. I think it just uses an internal spring to keep it sealed against the end plates, but we'll get into that when I get it out. All right, here's the leak down test. I have my vacuum pump pumped right into the bellows there. I'm going to pump it up here. You can see the bellows collapsing as I suck air out of it with my little pump, which is what it's supposed to do, of course. Now if I just leave it sitting here, you can see where it's at, and you can see it draining down. I mean, it's not a bad leak, and maybe that's perfectly acceptable. I have no idea if there's even a specification for something like this. So I'm just going to compare this with the brand new one that I installed to see if it exhibits the same behavior or not. My hope is that it doesn't, because if it does, then I've kind of wasted my money and I just have a spare that I'll keep around. So we'll see what it looks like when I put the new one on. Alright, here's the whole unit removed from the car now, although the cable is still attached to the throttle linkage here. I don't think I need to disconnect it. And here, under here, are the two external relays. One of them is the brake release relay. The other is the hold relay. Here's the servo unit itself. I mentioned the Allen screw. This should be the bottom of the unit here, so that he must be referring to this. Although, you know what? I see two Allen screws there, a C and an R. I'm going to have to ask him about that. So I don't want to undo the the wrong one, if that's even what he's talking about. I don't think there's one on this side. I'll have to go look at my trash one to see if there's one on the other side there that I can't see right now. But anyway, I've got to undo this nut here to get to the interior part of that bellows. I wanted to demonstrate what this looks like as I take it apart. I wiped off the exterior with a rag, and I believe it just literally peels open. There's no glue or anything that holds this together, as far as I know. As I say that, I don't know if I've ever actually taken one of these apart before, but in theory, it should come apart just like this. And just there's the spring. There's one side of it all nice and shiny and clean. That's good to see. No moisture in there. And the spring. Oh, I guess you're not really seeing all this. Sorry. The spring. Let me zoom back a little bit on this. All right. So getting this out of your line of sight. There we go. Spring, that end, and the other end comes off the same way. Just peel it off. There's the old Bellows. Here's this. Also looks very nice and clean inside. I'm not really sure where the sealing surface is. It looks to me like there is a steel band inside of here. I don't know inside. You can see it shining there a little bit. This is the old one. I don't know that this one has that, and I don't know if I need to move that steel band into this one or not. That's interesting. I've never done this before, like I said. So here's the new one, which is all compressed. I'm assuming it's going to be forced to stretch when I put this together. It's interesting though. It doesn't feel like it wants to stretch at all. Interesting. I hope this is the right part. I mean, it was advertised as the right part. Oh, okay. I see the steel ring. It is in there. Okay. It's put. You know, it's interesting. You can see there's quite a difference there. The diameter is the same as far as where it fits, but this part is very different. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So before I put this together though, I think I'm going to take the edges here to my bench grinder, just use my little wire brush to clean that up, because that lip just goes around there, and I want to make sure that it's a nice clean surface for sealing purposes, since it looks like there's no RTV or anything that needs to go on there. All right, I'm going to try this on camera. It may not be wise, but I'm going to see if I can get this together with the new parts and everything. I've got the one side in, one without the spring is easy to put on. I cleaned as best I could around the edges here, on the outer edges, with my brush on the grinder. It didn't really come all that clean, but I guess it's good enough. So I guess this is supposed to seal with just the spring pressure. So hopefully it will hold and it won't have a leak down. What's interesting to me is just the size difference. The old one is considerably wider than the new one, but I have to assume it's going to work. So we're going to see here how, I don't even know if you saw that. Did you see that? Here, you can see the difference here, how much taller the old one is. But so anyway, the idea is just to push this down and then somehow get it under the lip here. So let's see how successful I am while I'm on camera. I bet I'm not going to get it done on camera, but let's see here. I'm getting it part of the way. Looks like I might need to use a tool besides my fingers. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm loath to use a tool, a sharp tool, because I don't want to, cut the thing. It wasn't cheap, as you can imagine, reproduction and all that. So anyway, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to see what I have to do to get it on the rest of the way using just my fingers. All right, so it is done. It is assembled. The amount of travel, again, you can see the difference is significantly less. That tells me I'll have to make adjustments where this cable hooks onto. It is adjustable. I'll have to adjust for the fact that this is shorter, but it looks like it would have enough travel. It would have enough travel to move the throttle on the carburetor enough to maintain the speed and all that. It would have to. So that's it, really. It is assembled. I'm going to go do my leak down test to see if this holds better than the old one did. I hope it does, and we'll go from there. All right, we're going to do the leak down test now. I'm going to pump it up and watch this thing work. So it compresses immediately, has lots of travel, and I'm going to watch the gauge here to make sure it doesn't leak down. Now at this point, the old unit, the old Bellows, was already leaking by now, and this one appears to be holding. I don't see any leak down whatsoever, so that's hopeful. That's positive that might actually make a difference in how this thing works. So that's a good sign there. So with that said, I'm going to read the text message that George sent me from Florida, because I asked him about these various adjustments that I'm finding on here to see if he knows what they are and what to do with them, if anything. So I'll get back to you. Alright, everything is reassembled. Got my new bellows sitting right there. I tested it again with my vacuum pump, and it activates the throttle like it should. George expressed some concern that it's shorter than the original one. He says that might mean less volume of air to move, which could affect it, but he said to try it anyway, which of course I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go inside, get cleaned up, wash my hands and stuff, and go for a test drive. Alright, out here on the road right now. I'm going to start with the initial test here. Let me get it up to 55. I got people behind me. Alright, now I'm going to do my first test here. About 56, set it. Let's see how much it drops this time. 55, 54. So it looks like the 2 mile per hour drop is still there, which is interesting. So the new bellows didn't do anything with that. For that, now we'll test the accelerate function. Yeah, in fact, it looks like it dropped more like 3 miles per hour before it recovered. I can feel it now. No foot on the brake. On the pedal. Alright, let me try the accelerate function now. Holding in the button. It looks like it's still not working. Not really surprised about that. I didn't really expect it to. It's pretty much doing what it did before. Alright, I gotta get turned around here. Alright, we got some good news. When I went back home the last time, I tried the adjusting on that Allen screw that George told me about. He said it's only one. He told me specifically which one. Didn't want to move much. I think I only moved it less than a quarter of a turn. Counterclockwise, but that was enough to actually get somewhat of an accelerate function. Right now I'm going to set the unit at about 60. I've just done that. See, the cruise light is on there. Foot's not on the pedal. We're just cruising along. The drop, no, it's still sitting there. Actually, I think the drop is less too. But right now I'm going to hold in the button here on the end of the stalk and see what happens with the speed. So right now it's holding right below 60. I'm holding the button in now. So it doesn't accelerate very fast, but it is accelerating. You can see it slowly gaining speed as I hold the button in. It's very, very slow, but it is accelerating. The longer I hold it in, of course, the faster it goes. So it is accelerating. I'm holding the button in. So now I'm going to release the button and see where it settles down at. It's about 64, 63, and I've got somebody in front of me with the brake lights on, but it looks like it's holding. Alright, brakes. So, that's pretty successful. So I'm going to see if I can back out that screw a little bit more. I'm kind of afraid to, because it really didn't want to go any more than what I did, but I'm going to see if I can make it go a little bit more and try this again. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm very pleased to report that my cruise control is now fully functional, including the accelerate function. It's amazing how such a tiny adjustment on that servo finally got that working. It didn't take much of a turn on that adjustment screw, the only adjustment screw that's on there, counterclockwise, to get that finally to work. I do feel better too about having replaced the bellows, and definitely want to shout out to George Borrelli. He's the gentleman in Florida that rebuilt that servo, and he went through it twice, because I had to send it back to him one time because something still wasn't working right. He found his problem and fixed it and sent it back. And then after that, it was a matter of him working with me on the phone and text messages to troubleshoot and eventually whittle it down to the final adjustment. So everything works now. So I'm pretty pleased about that. Somewhat expensive repair, but that's okay. It works like it should, or close enough. The accelerate function, I don't really remember anymore how fast, how quickly it should accelerate when you activate it. It seems to go a little slow, but it definitely works. It definitely accelerates the car. So that's the important thing. So I'm pretty happy. Have a good evening.